Hey everyone, how you doing? Hey everyone in the chat. So thanks for joining me. I've had a pretty good week. As weeks go, this has been a pretty good week for me, I think. Just want to show you something. Just start off the stream just because, you know, I've had a pretty good week. I'll show you this because I wrote this last year, the beginning of last year. So I just want to give you a recap of what I wrote at the beginning of last year, and this was all to do with the Mueller indictments. This was on my book, Russiagate. This is what I said. Let's see how it holds up, shall we? A couple of years, 18 months, well, over 18 months since I started writing it, a year since it was published. What happens next? Will there be more indictments? This is the final chapter of the book in its entirety. There will almost certainly be more indictments to happen as Robert Mueller concludes his investigation into any Russian interference in the 2016 election. However, any talk of Donald Trump being indicted or impeached is just plain ludicrous. How's that statement holding up right now? First of all, the mere notion that Trump colluded with Putin to win the election is something straight out of a spy novel. Of course it is, despite the fact that FBI and almost every media outlet in the world have been digging into this matter and leaving no stone unturned. There is still no evidence that any collusion happened. So with this in mind, will it ever be proven that Trump colluded with Russia in order to win the 2016 election? The answer to that is no, absolutely not. The better question would be, will Donald Trump be charged with something else? To that, the chances are much, much higher of being yes. However, most people are of the opinion that Donald Trump has been involved in some shady dealings in the past with his real estate businesses. With this in mind, it's far more likely for Mueller to find financial irregularities in his history than any collusion with Russia. But this scenario has huge consequences. Huge consequences that, sorry, I've cut the bottom of the book off. Huge consequences for which many screaming for Trump to be indicted and impeached on any charge whatsoever have not considered. If Trump was to be indicted on money laundering or some sort of financial charge, one has to ask the question of, where would that lead? If the FBI were to get Trump on any financial crimes, then surely they would have to go after the Clintons for something similar. Surely then the FBI would have to investigate Obama for bailing out Wall Street, then immediately start receiving $500,000 per speech to Wall Street when he left office. If that precedent was set, the FBI would surely open live investigations into half of Congress for similar actions. This is why there was never going to be a financial thing that would go after him. They'd never be able to get him on financial irregularities, despite what some people in lefty so-called independent media will have you believe. And on that note, why only concentrate on Trump and Russia? There is far more smoke coming out of his dealings with Saudi Arabia than any of Russia during the election campaigns. Trump set up 8 businesses in Saudi, then signed a $530 billion arms deal with the country as president. Look into that. Of course, the answer to that is Saudi Arabia is an ally, whereas Russia is not. All of this is why, although far more likely than any indictments over Trump colluding with Russia, it is still highly unlikely he will be prosecuted for any suspect financial dealings. How's that holding up right now? Others within his campaign, and indeed individuals who are not connected to Trump, may not be so lucky. There will probably be more indictments to come, other than the 19 we have seen already. There were. Well, that stood up the test of time, but nobody for any collusion, as I pointed out in the last video I did on it. But Donald Trump is highly unlikely to be one of them. What next for the Democrats? And here's the point, and here's the thing that the media all miss, both in this country and in America, because let's face it, their job is to dumb people down and not give them the facts as to why their country and their democracy is so fucked up. Donald Trump by nature is a very divisive person. People either love him or hate him. You will be hard-pressed to find anybody with an ambiguous opinion of Donald Trump. The establishment media and DNC, in an attempt to divert attention away from how the DNC have essentially banded the middle and working class in America, have used the vitriol directed at Trump to further their policy of business as usual. Politics as usual. They have tapped into this hatred in an attempt to divert people's attention away from their own failings as a political party. It hasn't worked well enough, though. At least not as well as the DNC had hoped. In almost every special election since 2016, whenever there is what could be called a progressive running in the race, the progressive has won or done very well in. I think I would add that right now. And in many cases have achieved a huge swing in opinion from previous elections to do so. These progressives are not winning over the hearts and minds of the public by talking about Russia. They're doing it by talking about policies. You can certainly expect results like these to happen on a more frequent basis in the 2018 Democratic primaries and midterm elections. How's that statement holding up right now? With AOC and Ilhan Omar causing a ruckus in Congress. How's that statement looking right now? The reason why this is the case is because although many people think Donald Trump winning the election was the biggest political story in America in 2016, it wasn't. Despite what the cable news will tell you, the biggest political story to come out of 2016 was, in fact, Bernie Sanders. At the beginning of the DNC primary, Bernie Sanders had little name recognition, especially when considering his opponent, Hillary Clinton, was one of the best-known politicians on the entire planet. Despite this disadvantage, and despite the fact that Clinton was basically running the DNC during the primary campaign, and despite the fact that basically every major news network was dismissive of Sanders, he ran Clinton extremely close in the race, closing the gap between them down to just 4 points. And he did it all with campaign finance by an average donation of $27. Sanders was so close to one of the biggest political upsets in living memory because he talked about the subjects which the working and middle class cared about, the subjects which the DNC had abandoned in favour of a more centrist, corporate-friendly platform. Sanders talked about real issues the average voter faced. He spoke up against the rampant income inequality which has become such a huge problem, and he proposed policies which the American people so badly needed, such as Medicare for all, a living wage, an end to the drug wars, and free college tuition. Like him or not, Bernie Sanders speaks to the people that the DNC have left behind. And this is extremely troubling for the DNC. They can no longer rely on a platform of platitudes to garner votes, and one by one Democratic senators and representatives are walking away from the corporate and PAC money which the American voters despise. How's that doing right now, that statement, with all the people who have announced now their candidacy for the 2020 election? Are they all, swearing off PAC money and corporate and PAC money? Are they all going towards, Medicare for all? Are they all going towards, the progressive options? They're all moving towards that way. This is where the energy is. They can no longer rely on a platform of platitudes to garner votes, and one by one Democratic senators and representatives are walking away from the corporate and PAC money which the American voters despise. Sanders started a political revolution in America in 2016. It is a revolution which is gaining momentum. By the way, Sanders always used to say, sounds like you're ready for a revolution. He never said he was going to lead it. I think he started it. Maybe he won't finish. Who knows? The people of America are fed up with politics as usual. They are fed up with their democracy being sold out to the highest bidder. And they are fed up of politicians who only care about re-election instead of what they could do for the people they represent while they are in power. And in the Russiagate story, it is just an attempt to draw as much attention away from this political revolution as possible in a desperate attempt to carry on with politics as usual. And I end the book with this quote: "Don't believe it. There's no evidence to back it up. Russiagate is an establishment lie." And there you have it. A dumbass like me can get it right a year ago. And basically, I got it right ever since the beginning. It's really simple. You look at facts, you look at evidence, and then you base your conclusions on that. So my book, I think, it stands up, I think, pretty well, considering I wrote it over a year ago, don't you think? How's your book holding up, Luke? How's your book holding up? You piece of shit. You piece of shit propagandist. You piece of shit lying propagandist. How's your book fucking holding up, eh? New York Times bestseller. New York Times bestseller. Luke, are you going to offer everybody a fucking refund, are you piece of shit? For any of you who want to go and buy a copy of that piece of shit, go and look in your bookstore. Look in the fiction section, because that's where it fucking should be. Hashtag collusion propagandist. That's what he'll call me. Asshole. I got it right. All I've got is that's his whole career is in journalism. He's been in journalism how long, and he's still fucking got it totally wrong. He made a fortune out of it. He doesn't care. And this is the people that the establishment in this country hoist up as the best journalists. Go fuck yourself, Harding, you piece of shit. I never want to hear from that person ever again. Ever. And the Guardian, if ever they let him write anything in their rag anymore, they need to hang their heads in shame. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say, yeah, I was right all fucking long. I got it right. Me. Thank you, Jesus Zamora. Thank you very much. Thanks very much. I want to say hello to everybody. Jamal Thomas interview with Cynthia McKinney is awesome, Gordon Dimmack. Nice to be vindicated out. Yeah, I'll go and check that out. Cynthia McKinney's excellent. I'll go and check it out. Thank you, Upstate Raider. Thank you, everybody. 127 viewers, only 47. Who hasn't hit the like button? Yeah, come on. I was right. I was right. Fucking right. It's a good feeling. They were all wrong. All of them. All of those so-called journalists who've been in journalism for 20, 30 years, who went to journalism school and studied it and, you know, oh, we studied Marxism and all those, you know, experts on politics, they all fucking got it wrong. They all pushed this collusion angle. I said it was bollocks from the very start. I said why. I pointed out why. It wasn't difficult to spot. I wasn't the only one who did it. Got to ask, why did they all fucking get it wrong? Because they're paid to get it wrong, or they're dumbasses. It's one of the two. They're incompetent, or they're fucking bought and paid for. Is your book on Amazon, mate? Yeah, it is, but don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's going to be free by the end of the day. By the end of the day, I'm just giving it away for free. I'm just giving it away in PDF. Don't buy it. I found out recently that the book was in fucking about that big, and the font in it, I never had a copy of it, so it didn't sell many copies, but it was right. So yeah, I'm going to give it away for free in PDF. I'm just going to, it's on my Patreon, so patrons can download it for free. So I'm just going to make that public on my Patreon and pin it to the top or something. So just go and I'll do that at the end of the stream. And you can see I was fucking right all along. It's not, you know, it's got spelling mistakes in and what have you, and I'm not the best at writing, but I was fucking right. I was right. That piece of shit, that book was complete fucking arse gravy from start to finish, and it probably made him a multi-millionaire. New York Times bestseller, that's some serious shit. He made a fucking fortune out of peddling lies that pushed us further towards a fucking new Cold War and World War III. That's what this bastard did. I so want to call him the C word right now, because it's the only thing really that makes any sense to me. Look at it, evil. Thank you, by Silver Streams. That's nice of you. Glows on with I was right, man. I was right. Gordon, stop gloating. You didn't even win the battle. Hey, I was right. They were all fucking wrong. I was right. I deserve it. I deserve it. Remember, while the people in independent media, while we were right, other people were slandering and smearing us as propagandists and collusion and conspiracy theorists. They were calling us conspiracy theorists for not buying into their verified now conspiracy theory. Because it wasn't a conspiracy, it was just a theory. And now it's been debunked. And none of them are coming out and apologising. Rachel Maddow immediately pivoted. Whoops. Pivoted. 30 seconds it was. 30 seconds. And she read it out and she said, okay, there's no collusion. Pivot. Off. Oh, so what does this mean? Does it mean there's a cover-up? And that's 2.5 of your career just gone down the drain. And you explain it in 30 seconds and then carry on. MSNBC apparently, according to one staff, they were having phone calls saying, "You've been telling us for 2 years there's collusion. Where is it? What do you mean?" They're confused. They need to all. I think Glenn Greenwald. By the way, Glenn Greenwald. I saw a couple of videos of him today. I'm going to cover one in a video tomorrow. I didn't have a chance to break it down, but he was on Democracy Now. Oh my God, he was brilliant. And then he went on Tucker Carlson, and he was even better. It's I've got to break that down in the video when I'm going to be away for a couple of days. Actually, I'll explain that at the end of the stream. But yeah, I need to cover that when I come back because he was fantastic. Glenn Greenwald was. And fair play for Tucker Carlson again for having him on. Remember, Glenn Greenwald is banned from being on MSNBC. They won't even let dissenting voices be on there. The last time they had a voice on MSNBC that was actually going against the Russiagate narrative was December 2016, and it was Glenn Greenwald apparently. I'm a matter, I looked into it. So yeah, December 2016 was the last time they had anybody who had a feeling on there that this Russiagate was bullshit. Since then, it's all been one way, and now it's been proven wrong. They're all one-way reporting, and the way she pivoted from it was 30 seconds to say they found no collusion, and then to go straight on to the next thing and pivot and go off. There was no, like I said, there's going to be absolutely no consequences for these propagandists, lying bastards, lying red-baiting McCarthyite bastards. There's going to be no, she'll probably get a raise. You know what? I think was it Jimmy said she needs to be in journalism jail? They do. If there was a jail for journalism, definitely. It's horrific. And some of the people over here have been just as bad. Some of the people in the UK have been just as bad as well. And the reporting in the mainstream media over here has been just terrible. It's been terrible. There's another article in the BBC I want to dismantle from Anthony Zurcher. He's at the BBC America correspondent. He's put an article out of it's hilarious. Honestly, he's got everything wrong in it, but they put it out anyway, and he's their expert of American politics. They're so fucking out of touch in Washington. It's unreal. They really are. How can I write that book, which is basically fucking 100% accurate and stands the test of time, and I'm just a fucking dumbass? I'm a middle-aged, misgruntled, middle-aged man with a microphone on YouTube. That's basically what I am. That's all. With an internet connection, some critical thinking skills, a brain in his head, and just a thirst for the fucking truth and knowledge. That's all it is. That's all it is. And if I can get that almost basically exactly 100% right a year ago, why the fuck can't they? Why can't they? They're far more experienced than me. They have far more money behind them. They have far more weight and gravitas, and they have far more access than me. So why are they getting it wrong? The answer, of course, is they're getting it wrong on fucking purpose because they're propagandizing and lying the public as far as they can do into a fucking Cold War. It's not on. It's criminal. Yeah, they certainly are, Shaman. Is he saying Trump is innocent? No, innocent of what? Innocent of what? Innocent of collusion, yeah. Innocent of crimes with regards to money laundering? Probably fucking not. But like I say, if they get him on that, they're going to have to go after others. They'll set a precedent. They'll have to go after others. I'm damn sure that there are other people in Congress who are probably more corrupt money-wise than Donald Trump is. And that sounds a really big thing, but think about it. Think about how much money some of them were worth when they entered Congress and how much they're worth now. Some of them are 100 millionaires. Bluebells 51 says the worst of the whole Russiagate bullshit is now Trump can look like the victim and it vindicates the right wing's victimization fetish. Yeah, exactly. This is one of the things that I covered in the video. This helped Trump. You know, MSNBC and CNN. They were for 2 years. They've been going after. He's the most horrible man in the world. We've got to get rid of him. It's terrible. We've got to get rid of him. And they've been doing everything that's anti-Trump. All of this has fucking helped him. All of it has helped him. You know, it's helped his re-election campaign for 2020. You can really look at them. He points to the media and say, "Yeah, they really what? See, I was right all along. I was right all along." It vindicates him. They've helped him. You got to ask, was that the plan all along? Because they're all bought and fucking owned by the same people. I've said down there, I've said, it's a theatre. I've said the same thing about Westminster. It's a theatre and they're playing it out. I'll get on to Westminster in a second because that's just a shit show at the moment down there. Mission says, those of us who followed the 2016 election knew exactly when and why the narrative switched to Russia-Trump collusion. Yeah, it did. There's, trying to remember the name of that book where Robbie Mook and the other guy were in the meeting afterwards with the milkshakes. I'm trying to remember the name of the book. But they literally come up with the Russia collusion to blame it on Russia there and then. And the media went along with it. We tried to hold them accountable, but they just drowned us out. They're too powerful. But we were right all along, and you know what? People are realising it, and people are gathering it, and people are thirsty for this. They're thirsty. I've been going a year, and I've got over 13,000 subscribers, you know? On a news and politics channel. It's not like I'm playing Call of Duty, you know? It's a news and politics channel. Pelosi's net worth has increased by 40 million since she attained office, says D. Martin. Case in point, mate. She's one of the mild ones, actually. If you look at some of the, there's one person who's way out there, but they married into Murray Walton while they were in office. But the rest of them, some of them have increased their wealth by like 400-500% to be worth tens of millions of dollars. Shameful. It's corrupt and it's out in the open. And people are pissed off with it, and that's why they like Bernie Sanders, and this is why the DNC just will not move over. They want to keep the gravy train coming. Shattered says Covert White Rabbit. Thank you very much. That's the name of the book. That outlines what I said about them coming up with that. Robbie Mook, was it Robbie Mook, Podesta and Clinton in the room, and they were having conversation over milkshakes, and they literally did come up with the Russia theory right then. It's in a book. Thirsty for the real news, right on Gordon, says Uncle Trina. Yeah, thanks, mate. I just want to go into another, just set this up. I've got to talk about this shit. Unbelievable.
No, I don't.
Oh, my computer's frozen. Oh, this is very unprofessional of me, but I want to set it up. Right. Hi everyone, do you remember this? This was from June last year. Just play it, you'll remember it, I'm sure you will. Oh.
When you know,
we'll
you're
start that
judging
again,
them
shall we? And
on...
I'll put the sound on. I hate technical stuff, I really do. Hi everyone, you remember this? About, what, 7 months ago, this is June last year. It's Danny Dyer, you'll probably remember it.
No, I don't know anything about Love Island.
Listen, going back to that,
this
this whole Brexit thing, when you know, you're judging them on Brexit, they don't know nothing about it. Who knows about Brexit?
Yeah, quite.
No one's got a fucking clue what Brexit is, yeah? You watch Question Time, it's comedy.
Were you no clearer when Jeremy Corbyn explained
No, I got
Labour's
the clue.
policy?
No one knows what it is. It's like this mad riddle that no one knows what it is, right? So what's happened to that twat David Cameron who pulled it off? Let's be fair.
I think you're referring to our former Prime Minister.
Yeah, but how comes he can scuttle off? He called all this on.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He has no regrets.
Where is he? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Yeah? Where is the geezer? I think he should be held accountable for it. He should be held accountable for it.
It's a valid point. A lot of people do feel that...
I love that guy. You see, the thing is, the reason I play that is, first of all, it's just funny. I love people who call David Cameron a twat, but second of all, he's probably, I said it at the time, he's the one who's described Brexit so far the most accurately on TV. And it's true. That was June the last year, and it still is the best description, I think, of how the country feels, because nobody seems to know what Brexit is at this point. Oops. Nobody seems to know exactly what Brexit is at this point. Nobody seems to know what it is, and nobody seems to know exactly where we are in the process. And if you read the news and you listen to the news, honestly, you don't get any further along in it. So I'm going to try my best to explain what's going on at the moment. And it's fluid. It might have changed by the time I actually came on air. Honestly, it's that stupid at the moment. Because anything could happen. You know, it's a theatre down there. Because after 2 years of failed negotiations, Theresa May has, for over 2 years, or coming up to 2 years, tried to negotiate this deal and got nowhere. And then yesterday, because of a motion put forward by Oliver Letwin, I think it was, who's Conservative, the House of Commons voted to take back the Brexit process from Theresa May, saying that she couldn't get through a deal. Of which Theresa May said, "No, I'm not going to recognise that. I'm going to still try and get my dead parrot through a fourth time." So she's going to try to get that through. And then the rest of Parliament are going to try and come up with some sort of deal that maybe could get through by the 12th of April, that they could present to the EU, that the EU could say, yeah, we might be able to get a deal on that. We'll then extend things to June the 30th to continue the negotiations. That's as it stands at the moment, and they're voting on shit as it happens right now, and they've got more votes to happen tomorrow. There's one vote on the customs union. It's like, how are you going to get, fine, okay, you want a customs union, fine, but how are you going to get that without free movement of people? You've never explained that, and that's a big red line in the sand for most Brexiteers. There are so many questions with regards to this, and every scenario is on the table, including Theresa May getting her deal through again. That dead parrot, it's still a possibility that she'll get it through, but it's obviously very slim. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to get that dead parrot through again. And you know what? It's frightening some of her party enough that Brexit might not happen at all, that it's gaining support. So that could happen. We could have a situation where a general election is called somehow. We could have a situation where Theresa May resigns, because that would make sense. To me, it would make sense anyway. I've said all along that Brexit for Theresa May was all about kicking the can down the road. Well, now she can't kick it down the can down the road much further. Or at least it seems to be coming to a situation now where we're running out of time, and it's more difficult for her to do that, especially with the nation now. You know, the mood is obviously quite bad towards the government. So she's got to worry about civil unrest as well if they do kick it down the can down the road. So one way to kick it can down the road was for the Conservative Party to force Theresa May down, to say, right, okay, we're going to force you to step down. Then we've got to have a leadership contest. And they could maybe get the EU to extend it until there's a leadership contest, and there's a way to extend it. Or a general election could be called, or there could be further extensions, or there could be a referendum, or Theresa May's deal could pass, or we could exit under WTO rules on the 12th of April or the 30th of June or the end of this month or whatever, or there's a cancellation of Brexit, or we renegotiate the whole thing and start Article 50 all again. All of these things are possible 3 days away from the date we're meant to leave. We're fucking 2 years down the line. 2 years down the line. And we're still no further on from where we were. The day after the referendum. We're no further down the line than that. None. 2 years. You know what? I found something earlier today from just before the referendum. I'm going to play it for you. Just going to play it for you just to see, you know, what they said, how easy they said it was going to be, and what really was going to happen. And when I say they, I mean, of course, David Twatty Cameron. Enjoy this. I'm not gonna interrupt it. I'm just gonna play it, but I will pause at the end for you to just either finish laughing or finish swearing at the screen.
The basis of the reforms we secure.
I'll play it again.
It will be your decision whether to remain in the EU on the basis of the reforms we secure, or whether we leave. Your decision.
Hold on a minute.
Nobody else's.
I'm just going to change this a little bit, guys. I'll edit it. Yeah, better. I'll edit this for the stream because there's subtitles on it and I want you to see the subtitles. I'm just going to play this. Enjoy.
It will be your decision whether to remain in the EU on the basis of the reforms we secure or whether we leave. Your decision. Nobody else's. Not politicians, not parliaments, not lobby groups, not mine. Just you. You, the British people, will decide. At that moment, you'll hold this country's destiny in your hands. This is a huge decision for our country, perhaps the biggest we'll make in our lifetimes. And it will be the final decision. So to those who suggest that a decision in the referendum to leave would merely produce another stronger renegotiation and then a second referendum in which Britain could stay, I say, think again. The renegotiation is happening right now. And the referendum that follows will be a once-in-a-generation choice, an in or out referendum. When the British people speak, their voice will be respected, not ignored. If we vote to leave, then we will leave. There'll not be another renegotiation and another referendum. And I say to those who are thinking about voting to leave, think very carefully because this choice cannot be undone.
It's just utter bollocks, isn't it? It's just utter bollocks. And this is why I wanted to just do that and end on him, because Danny Dyer was right. He's 100% right. He was right back in June last year, and this is why he's still the most accurate description of this whole Brexit process. That guy, David Cameron, he really is a giant twat, and he should be held accountable for what he's done. We'll see if we do get Brexit. We'll see. But at the moment, you look at the debacle down there, and honestly, I don't think they could organise a fucking piss-up in a brewery. They're that incompetent. We voted to leave the EU. It's a trading bloc, for fuck's sake. It's not rocket science. Or isn't it just a trading bloc? Is it something else? Assholes. I'll cut the assholes off the end when I drop this video. Yeah, I know, everybody's laughing in the chat. It's absolute bollocks. Honestly, I found that today when I was researching for this live stream, and that was a few days before the referendum, I believe, in 2016. And that's what they were saying back then. It was going to be so simple. It was going to be clean cut. And if you voted, it was going to be certain. And there was going to be no more referendums. And there was going to be no more discussions. And it was all going to be great. And it was going to be fantastic. And look at what they fucking had. What did I say? I've said a lot, enough now on this channel for it to be drilled into everybody who's ever watched me before. I said the day before the referendum, you can't have an in-out referendum without defining what out is first. Because if you have out, all you're going to end up in is a bunch of bureaucratic nonsense because they're not going to want to fucking leave. I'm not Nostradamus or whatever his name is. Nostradamus. That's one of my subscribers. But, you know, you don't need a crystal ball to see this shit. You really don't. I want to show you something while I'm here, everyone. I'll show you, you know, the sort of shit that we're up against in the independent media. Because we're giving you the truth. I've been right about quite a few things now. Obviously, you know, been right about Syria and the Skripals and Russiagate and, you know, obviously a few other things as well. And it's not difficult. Not difficult to actually get it right. You've just got to look at the facts. But I just want to show you this. I want to show you how, like, you know, how YouTube and Google are almost forcing people to actually tell lies. Because these are all my videos that I've released recently. You can see anything in yellow it says not suitable for most advertisers, so that's demonetized. It doesn't mean that adverts don't appear on it. What it means is most advertisers just say, okay, if it's unsuitable, we don't tick that box. You do get advertisements sometimes on those things, but they are specifically for people who put their ads there or say, I want my ads to appear on that channel. You see? And then you do get ads on there, but you don't get the mass amount. And if you look, any video that I'm actually doing there on, I mean, the Russiagate one has actually just been monetized. That was demonetized to begin with. But you can see here, any of these about anti-Semitism, they're being, you know, demonetized. And if I just go to not monetized there, you can see, oh no, can't say it, but you can see the videos that are not monetized are the ones where I'm telling the truth and the mainstream media are lying to you. Try that again. So here, you can see there, these are the not monetized ones. And the orange ones that we need. No, sorry. Limited or no ads. Should have really set this up beforehand. I didn't do it. It's just a thought I had while I've been doing this. And you can see here, these are the ones that have not been monetized. Anything that's talking about anti-Semitism, anything that's talking about WikiLeaks and Chelsea Manning, anything that's talking about Venezuela. You can see most of these are confirmed by manual review. So a person has looked at these and said that they are unsuitable for advertisers. Anything about, obviously, you know, Israel, that gets demonetized. Anything about Syria, the Dimmack allegation, that's demonetized. It's anything that where I'm telling the truth and the corporate media are lying to you. What do you think the chances are of the corporate media having their ads restricted? Absolutely fucking none. So if you actually start looking into it, this is the way that they... I mean, Mark Blythe says that the establishment are trying to nudge you into better behaviours. That's what they're doing with this. Because I'm not making money from talking about this anti-Semitism. They're demonetising me. The money I'm making is actually from my audience that support me on Patreon from that. So I'm never, ever going to bend to their will. But some people need the money. Some people aren't doing news and politics shows like me. You know, they need the money. And they'll be thinking, okay, I'm not going to talk about Palestine. I'm not going to talk about Venezuela. I'm not going to talk the truth about this. And they'll talk about stuff that is sort of approved and you get money for that. Do you see what I mean? They are almost, they are punishing you. They are punishing me for telling the truth. And they are rewarding the people who are telling you lies. That's the way it's all set up on YouTube. It's fucking insane. But this is what's going to be their downfall. Honestly, I believe this. This is what's going to be their downfall, because what they're saying here basically is they're saying that the truth isn't profitable. You don't get money by telling the truth, and they're giving people money for fake news. Now that's fucked up, obviously. And you know what? Sooner or later, people are going to make a big deal about it, and that sort of shit is how they're going to end up being regulated, because it's unfair. If you're going to have these rules, you're going to have to treat everybody equally. And you're not. You're not. You are punishing those who are telling the truth and rewarding lying bastards who lie us into war. That's what you're doing, Google and YouTube. And it's going to be their fucking downfall. It really is. They'll probably get rid of me from their platform first. And they'll probably go on, you know, they won't care. They'll make shitloads of money, but... you know, they're punishing people for telling the truth. It's not on. It's something else I wanted to look at as well. I'll come. Please hit the like button, everybody. It really helps the stream, that does. Really helps the stream. I think I saw another super chat coming. Somebody's just said the EU failed because of XYZ. The EU's not failed yet. Not yet. It's around the corner, though, I think. Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, thanks for hitting the like button, everyone. Let me just check this super chat before I go into what I wanted to talk about next. I wanted to say thank you to Michelle Diaz-Nossetti from the last live stream, by the way, as well. I never got to reading out your super chat. Thanks very much. I want to get to this. This is the resignations. I found this on a state media, one of the state media websites. Resignations have come thick and fast for May. Number of ministerial resignations outside reshuffles from 1979, so in the last, 40 years. Look at that. That's virtually vertical. May's had 29, I think it is. Obviously, Blair had 29 as well, but Blair's was over 11 years. May's only just over 2, and she's had 29 ministerial resignations outside of reshuffles. How the hell is she still Prime Minister? If we were in a democracy, come on, there's no way somebody with that bad a record, if we were really living in a democracy, could get away with that shit and still be in power. There's no way. If you want proof that the UK is fucking failing as a democracy, that's it right there. Right there, that's it. She's not fit enough to lead her party, but she's fit enough to lead the country. Oops. Oops. I can't quite see the questions. Bluebells 51 says, Noam Chomsky says there is a narrow window of what we're allowed to criticise as long as you live within the lines. You can actually have debate by the manufactured consent. Yeah, I think he calls it the Overton window, it's called. You can have rigorous discussion in between those 2 points. For instance, you can have a massive discussion on whether you should be dropping 100 bombs on Syria or 1,000 bombs on Syria. But the guy on the left saying, should we bomb Syria at all? Maybe we shouldn't. His view doesn't get heard. So yeah, it's a good point you bring up there. Bluebells and Coop W says, free the weed, Canada did. Free the weed. I want to get to this, guys. I want to talk about this. I saw this today and it's brilliant. I want to give the guy credit who made. Because since I've started doing this a year ago, I've started to learn about politicians maybe I grew up with and didn't know much about. And there's one guy that really has impressed me the most, probably the most, more than any of them. And that's this guy, Tony Benn, because I saw this on YouTube, on the Twitter, on the Twitter sphere. Today, and I'm going to play it on Twitter. I think I can. This is just brilliant, and this is, I think, why Tony Benn was so revered as a man. He does seem like to be an absolutely awesome human being. Enjoy this. I'll talk about it afterwards. I'll talk about some of the things in it, but really enjoy this. Oh, come on, you piece of shit thing.
This country and the world have been run by rich and powerful men from the beginning of time. Began with slavery, they owned the workers and the land. If any slave objected, he was flogged or hanged. And that kept them in order. The older I get, the more I realise every single generation has to fight the same battles again and again and again. There's no final victory and there's no final defeat. that in wartime there are no economic arguments at all. I've never heard a general say, I can't bomb Baghdad this month because I've exceeded my budget. In wartime, you do whatever is required. We lost 105 million people in 2 world wars. 105 million people died, and that was the price of capitalism. 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 People in debt are slaves to their employers. They don't want the war. They don't want privatization.
Who was it that did that? Just the guy credit. So that was Ginger by Ginger Wildheart. Well done. That's absolutely fantastic. Now, he's a pretty, you know, some of the stuff he says there. You just take it from the era he was in and put it in today. It stands the test of time. You know, all the things that he's talking about all those years ago, all those decades ago, it really can be just taken out of what he was said right now and put in today, and it fits. It fits perfect. Now, these are just some of the placards that you saw from that video that I've cut. And I wanted to, you know, give them a good, just a quick cursory comment. Just to these are some of the things that it's brilliant. An educated, healthy, and confident nation is harder to govern. Of course it is. Judge Carlin did sketches about this. You know, the last thing they want is an educated nation capable of critical thinking. No, they want a nation of people just smart enough to run the machines and just dumb enough to take the red, white, and blue dick being shoved straight up their arse. You know, it's absolutely spot on. They really are dumbing you down on purpose. Go watch the Kardashians. You'll see what I mean. We can find the money to kill people. We can find the money to help people. Of course we can. He goes on to say, there's another placard on this about war. Obviously, I'll go on to speaking about that. But we always have the money for war, don't we? They passed a budget in America of $16 billion for war, for defence, they called it. Nah, that's war budget. That's a war chest, that is. Can't find any money for Medicare for all or free college or, you know, any of the stuff that will help the people. War, no problem. There are 2 ways in which people are controlled. First of all, to frighten people, and secondly, demoralise them. Well, look at what's happening in the UK at the moment, what we're subjected to. We're subjected to Russia is the bad guy, Russia is the bigger guy, Russia is going to start World War III, Russians are coming after us. Oh my God, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. And what are they doing to demoralise us? Universal credit, austerity, persecution of the poor, you know, throwing the bottom 30% of the income distribution over fucking board 30, 40 years ago. It's demoralising. And then obviously get them scared as well. Democracy is the most revolutionary thing in the world because if you have power, you use it to meet the needs of you and your community. Are the needs of you and your community being met by the government? Are they doing that? Is democracy doing that for you? No? Perhaps we don't have democracy then. We voted to leave Brexit, remember? We should be leaving in 3 days. You see it fucking happening? No, neither can I. The one thing that is absolutely essential is that there shouldn't be any governmental control of the media, directly or indirectly. That's the point, directly or indirectly. They're indirectly affecting the BBC, I think we can all say that, but they're indirectly affecting all the corporate media as well. Of course they are. How else do you explain that the rest of the corporate media didn't poke fun at Luke Harding like I did in The Guardian when they published their ridiculous WikiLeaks Julian Assange Manafort lie? If there was any real competition in the media, the rest of the media, like independent media did, would be pointing fingers at them saying, wait a minute, that's fucking bullshit. Why didn't they? Because they're all bought and fucking paid for by the same people, that's why. And what he's warning there, we're in it. That's why people like me are fucking, you know, doing a news channel from a council flat. All war represents a failure of diplomacy. Of course it does, but diplomacy's out the fucking window now. They're not trying diplomacy with Russia. They're trying to ramp up tensions. They're trying to move us towards a Cold War. Why? Because it's profitable, war is. It's profitable. What fools we are to live in a generation for which war is a computer game for our children and just an interesting little Channel 4 news item. Those children growing up, playing their computer games, it's war, it's natural. Violence, natural. War, Yemen on the screen, dying children, yeah, it's just one of those things. Interesting little news item, isn't that sad? Carry on with lives regardless. We're doing it. It's our government that's doing it in our name. I think people would feel a little bit differently if that really was the case and they understood that their tax dollars were actually going to kill these poor kids in other countries. We can't afford, you know, can't afford nice things there. These are 5 questions for politicians. 1. What power have you got? Where did you get that from? In whose interest do you exercise it, and to whom are you accountable? And how can we get rid of you? Interesting those 5 questions are, aren't they? You know what I'd like to ask those 5 questions to? Chuka Umunna and the Independent Group right now. To all of MPs, to be honest, but most importantly, Chuka Umunna and the Independent Group. Because we certainly don't know exactly what power they've got, and we certainly don't know where the bloody hell they got it from. And we don't know in whose interest they exercise it. Well, we sort of do, but they say it's not that. Shh. We don't know to whom they are accountable, and for certain, I speak for every member of the... in Britain, almost. We certainly don't know how to fucking get rid of you. Doesn't sound like a democratic country, does it? And of course, this is the bit that he led to in the war. The bit I looked at, you know, there's always enough money for war. Always. And the reason why is this: the international arms trade is the greatest threat to world peace because it is supported by governments. There's money in it. When we bomb Yemen or when we bomb Syria, the stocks in Raytheon and Boeing, etc. went up. People made money. You know what kind of people made money? The kind like Theresa May's husband, who runs a giant hedge fund and has massive shares in these companies. He made a fortune. Absolute fortune. It's good for some, isn't it? Not so good for others. Good for those people in the 1% making all this money off war and destruction and watching things blow crap up halfway around the world. Not so much for education and nurses and NHS and doctors at home. There is no moral difference between a stealth bomber and a suicide bomber. They both kill innocent people for political reasons. Oh, I'm reminded of the Manchester bombing attack and how, you know, this was apparent suicide bomber, killed himself. It was horrific. And obviously the Ariana Grande concert, wasn't it? It was horrific. And obviously that has scarred and affected everybody who was there at the horrific terrorist attack. It scarred them for life. To those in Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan, those families over in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan and Yemen and all those other places that are being bombed right now, do you think when a Raytheon rocket goes straight through their roof and kills members of their family, they differentiate between a drone and a suicide bomber? They don't at all. It's still death, it's still murder, it's still murder of innocent people. Remember, 90% of all people killed by drone strikes are innocent. And that's the Pentagon's own fucking figures. You can guarantee they're screwing them as much as possible. Ideas are more powerful than guns. They are. And this is why the media are so derelict in their duties and have been, especially over the last 2 years when they've been pushing this Russiagate nonsense, they've been pushing this anti-Semitic nonsense. Because it's not based in fact. It's not. It's just trying to push a political gain, that's all it is. It's just being a fucking PR company for whatever government crap they want to do next. That's all the media are doing. They're not actually, you know, having interviews with the educated amongst us, with the teachers, with the professors, with the scientists, with the visionaries, they're not propping those people up. No, they're going straight to the CIA, they're going straight to GCHQ, they're getting the marching orders from the government They're getting their marching orders and they're giving us the news and the opinions of the very people who have led us into fucking war for 20 years. Just look at who's, you know, running the Integrity Initiative. Which leaves me, by the way, mentioning that. I want to mention this guy because one of my favourite quotes is this. You can see where I'm going with this. This is just terrible. It's awful what is happening in the world right now. But one of my favourite quotes is this. It's by Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Well, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not going to do nothing. I refuse to do it. Because evil right now is triumphing. Right now it is. He's a very smart man, Edmund Burke was. He's the sort of person that if he were alive today, we should be actually getting our advice from and getting the, you know, the facts from and listening to what he thinks. And you know what the sad thing is? If he was alive today and people were doing that, chances are the Integrity Initiative would be smearing him and slandering him and calling him an anti-Semitic Putin puppet. That's the state we're in. We have to fight back, and I'm going to be hopefully fighting back this week because I am going down. And this is how I'm going to end the stream, guys. It's not going to be a long one tonight. Oh, we've been going an hour, by the way. Yeah, I'm going down to London again tomorrow. I'm going down for a few days. We're going to be covering stuff at the embassy. There's almost a... What I'm finding is there's almost a protest every week right now in London. Down there of some sort. Last week there was 2. So I'm going to go down this week and start covering these things. Now, let me just go into the website. If you didn't tune in last week, this is what I'm up to. Because I want to start getting out and about. I just want to start going down to London and places and maybe even go to France in a few weeks and if things go well. And start covering things from the ground and covering people in their own words and covering these protesters and these people who really are fighting back and who really are not doing nothing. They really are good people who are actually fighting back and doing something. So if you go to my website, I'll leave a link in the chat. This is the website. What I'm doing is I'm doing a journalism drive. I'm trying to raise £500 to buy all the equipment that we need, the cameras, the vests, etc. And we're almost halfway there after a week. I want to say thank you very much to everybody. You can see there, we're over halfway actually. That was updated earlier today, this morning. So I want to say thank you very much to everybody who has donated so far. Let me just put that in the chat. So if you want to donate to the journalism drive, that is the link. I'll be going down there over the next few days and obviously talking mostly about Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning. There's a couple of things that are coming up this week. There's a call to action, really. There is quite a bit of, should we say, activity down there. There's a Department of Justice jet, apparently, that's landed in Luton a few days ago and hasn't moved. I read a very interesting article earlier from Cassandra Fairbanks, who isn't everybody's favourite person, I understand, but she's on the right side of things with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. And yeah, she went down to meet him and was basically locked in a room for an hour. She was meant to have a 2-hour meeting with him. And he never had the meeting with her because they basically wanted to give him a search. They wanted to search him and do a scan, which was obviously intrusive. This is somebody who wanted to speak to a journalist in private, and they wanted to record the conversation and everything as well. They're basically keeping the guy in fucking prison. He's in prison right now. And they've pretty much said that, yeah, he's in prison. And the Americans are doing it, and Julian Assange knows who's doing it, and he's obviously saying you're the puppet of the Americans. There was a big argument. I might do a video about it when I come back because it's interesting. But there's certainly things going on down there, and I want to obviously be as close as possible to the action. So if anything does happen, I can get there because you can guarantee if the mainstream media get there first, or the mainstream media get there and they're the only people reporting on it, they're going to fucking slant it as far as they can towards the establishment because that's whose mouth, that's who pays their bills, that's the hand that feeds them. You understand what I mean? And I need to do something to fight back against it because nobody in the mainstream are going to fight back against it. None of them. You know, you're only going to get people like, you know, in independent media and independent journalists going down there giving the truth. That's what I want to do. Another thing that I've been thinking of, by the way, guys, is April is coming up, and April is tax month. And what I'm going to do come April is I'm going to publish everything, all my income and expenses, online on my website. I'm going to be totally open and transparent. So any money that comes to me, I'm going to absolutely track everything down to the minutest cent. So at any time, anybody can go to my website and see where your money is going and what it's getting invested in, how much I'm taking out of the money, out of the business, if you like. Yeah, I want to be beholden to you. And that's the only way you're going to keep me. Well, I mean, you'll keep me honest anyway, but I obviously need to make a living. Yeah. I want to get out and about, and I want to start covering things, because I don't see many other people doing it, and the people I see doing it are not doing it in the right way. Sounds like a plan, says Deep Thought. Yeah, that's the plan for me anyway. WikiLeaks is truth, says Flower Power. Yes, it is. Thank you, Coop L. Coop W, rather. Thanks everybody who sent me the support. Roving reporter, the Dimmack report. Nice, yeah. Thanks, Joe. It's not a massive amount of money, and you know, if we can get the equipment, and we want to get the equipment, and I've got somebody to help me with the camera work. We're on the 26th now, and the Extinction Rebellion is going to be, I believe, on the weekend of 12th to 15th. I've got to speak to Joe about that, but it's going to be a few weeks. We've got about 2 to 3 weeks to basically get to the goal of 500 quid. If we can get to that goal, great. I've got the equipment then, and who knows, 2 or 3 weeks, if there's still stuff going on over in Paris, we'll head over there. Why not? Start covering that from an English point of view, and maybe, you know, try and get a translator, because nobody over here is covering it, are they? So why not? See how it goes. Nobody else is going to do it. Let's stand up. At least try and do something to fight back against the bastards. You need a fedora, says Bluebells 51. I am actually, when I go down to London, believe it or not, one of the things I'm going to buy is a hat. Don't know what. I like hats, I just don't like baseball caps, so we'll see. Yeah, nice one, Blue. Yeah, I know they're trying to kill protesters and journalists in France, mate. That's why we need all the equipment, and we need the press stuff, etc. I know it. You know, you do need to make sure you're labelled as such. I'm not bothered. You know, I'm not bothered. Do you think them killing people is going to scare me? No. That's that sort of thing is obviously how they scare you into not standing up against them. So I'm not going to let them intimidate me. If they let you scare you, like terrorism, you get scared, you start doing things differently, then they win. Not going to do anything differently just because they're being overly violent. I want to shine a light on it, not run away from it. Bike helmet and goggles, yeah. I will do, Uncle Trini, don't worry, I'm not stupid. Protect myself as much as possible, but you know what? Nobody's nobody's doing it at the moment. I was just in the comment where somebody says Gordon is becoming an amalgam of Jimmy Dore and Jamal Thomas. I'm not sure whether that's a compliment. I don't know. There's two. I love them both separately, obviously, but I don't know. I'm just me. I'm not either of them. You can't win if you don't play, so yeah, absolutely right. Right, on that, I am, yeah, I'm going to end this live stream. Thanks to everybody for your support. I've got, obviously, videos dropping over the next few days, and I will be down in London covering whatever I can down there, and just try and stiff around and see what's going on. So I'll obviously be dropping videos out later on in the week. and we'll see how things go. Hopefully, you know, if we can get over the threshold of becoming Extinction Rebellion and maybe other stuff in France and further afield in the future. If you guys want it, fund me and I'll do it for you. It's I'll say fair on that. Thanks very much, everybody, for all your help. I really appreciate it. I couldn't do this without you, and honestly, I am chomping at the bit to cover the news and try and change the situation at the moment. I mean, you look at what I've covered tonight, you look at the Brexit fiasco, and you look at the state of you look at the state of the media with Russiagate, especially in America, and you just think, my God, how have we got to this stage? And the reason we've got to this stage is, of course, because people have been asleep for fucking 30 years. You know, but they say Obama put liberals to sleep for 8 years. True. If you look at Trump's policies, not really done much different than Obama had done himself, and he definitely hasn't done much different than another Republican would have done. Any other Republican would be trying to pull out of the climate change deal. It wouldn't be just Trump. Any other Republican would be trying to get giant tax cuts. It would not just Trump. Any other Republican would be going for more war in Venezuela and Iran. It wouldn't just be Trump. It isn't just Trump. You know, I think people are starting to realise, oh, I mean, it's not just Trump. It's actually the American system itself. It's not a democracy anymore. It's an oligarchy. But you guys all know that. That's why you tune into independent media, to get the truth. Thanks very much, everyone. Peace out. Love you all. I was going to say, I'm going to get the dog to say hello to you all, but she's fast asleep because she had a long walk. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody. Love you all. Peace. Take care, and yeah, free Julian Assange.